Yeah.
It's a special touch, I guess. All right, this is National 4-H Week this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have treats in here for you also.
After
Wow.
the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's National 4-H Week. The phone has been ringing already yesterday with interested new members. We have Spirit Week list on our Codington County 4-H Facebook page, and today is Terrific Tuesday. Share something that you do for your health with our 4-H's. Members are finishing or have finished up their record books and filling out award applications, and they're due to our office today from the leaders. And then our recognition event is October 23rd. So enrollment for the new year is now open for new members. And then our members that we have right now need to re-enroll on our 4-H online website. Next week, I'll be attending the National 4-H Conference in Madison, Wisconsin with colleagues. This is probably one of the biggest ones that South Dakota's attended. We have like 12 or 13 coming from South Dakota over there. And it's close that we can drive there, so that's kind of nice too. And then SDSU Extension Conference is October 25th to the 27th in Brookings. We have a sewing day that's going to be hosted by the Magic Needlers Quilt Guild for our 4-H youth on October 22nd. And we filled both their sessions with 20 people. So that includes some parents and youth that get to sew. And then the Clover Buds will begin in November as we take enrollment this month. So we'll have a Clover Buds again in Waverly, Florence, and Watertown, and hopefully Henry. And the 4-H at Home project kits that we did for 16 months last year in 2021 included a total of 769 kits that we put together in that time frame. So it was big.
I would have to comment, Jody, that one of the projects that you had to do via
The
online
4-H at Home,
was they built something.
the boxes.
Yeah, and anyway, I was judging and I had, I don't know, 20, 30 of them, and they were good. So,
They just got the pieces. They had to put them together.
and they did a
work
good
with the
job.
carrying
And
it.
so that was a good project. It
Mhm.
was a total hands-on project for them to do. And then the ones that added a little touch to it and painted them up and trimmed them up nice, they turned out really nice.
Well, that way they're all different. Everyone did a different way and
Yep.
and everything.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and the Mastery Showcase at the state fair too, we had 2 participants in that from Codington County, and one of them got first and the other one got third. So
Mhm.
that's great for them too. So,
Yeah, they were good.
all right, that's all I have. Any questions?
Is this the new 4-H uniform of the day now?
This is just for today. I wear green all week, so.
Thank you.
So thank you.
When do the shooting sports start?
We
again?
usually start in January, so I did put in my newsletter this month that we're looking for archery instructors to help with it too. So hopefully we can find some
I have an name for
archery
you.
instructors to help lead that. So,
For you.
okay, you can email me that.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you very
All right.
much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jody. Okay, then let's move on to item number 6, discussion with Krantz Insurance regarding employee health insurance renewal rates. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Morning, Ray.
Morning, Ray.
Thanks for letting me come in again. I appreciate it, and appreciate letting me come in early because I had meetings again today. Unfortunately, the Blue Cross has a lot of different meetings that are going on, and we have to
Thank you.
attend them online right now, so. Anyway, this is the renewal for next year. Oh, you open up the packet and the left side, I was just gonna go through this, the renewals right here. Right now you offer 3 benefits. The first option is $1,000 deductible. And then there's an option 2 that's a $3,000 and option 3 that's a $2,000 deductible. So on the $1,000 deductible, I just kind of wanted to go through and tell you what the coverage is a little bit, because I'm not sure we've done that recently. But the $1,000 deductible has an 80/20 after the first 1,000. So, and you pay 20% after the first 1,000. So let's say you're in the hospital or, any major bills. You pay 20% when you're in the hospital and 40% if you're out of network. So if you went to a non-Sanford hospital, basically, that wasn't approved. So the out-of-pocket maximum is 2 times the deductible, so if you're, as long as you're in the network, this is a $2,000 maximum, that's what you'd have to pay out for the whole year. So that's the worst case scenario. If you end up going to the emergency room, it's a $150 emergency room copay. You have the $20 office visit copay, a $20 specialty care copay, and I'm just going through the top one because there's not many on the other two. Just want to be able to go through that so you understand it. On the prescription drug copay, it's $0 for the first tier, and that's basically most of the generics. And then it's $15, $35, and $50 for the worst case scenario. Again, the prescriptions go towards the out-of-pocket maximum as well, so that's pretty nice. They have the lab and X-ray rider on the first plan. So when they go to the office, their labs and X-rays are included in the $20 office copay. There is no vision rider on it, so very, very nice plan for these times. So just wanted to go through that a little bit. Right now you have 79 singles and 6 families on that plan. I was going to show you below, there's 2 family members on the $3,000 deductible, and there's 1 on the $2,000 deductible. Okay, no singles, obviously, because you pay 100% of the single. So the current rates are $842 for the main plan, and that's what you pay. And I know you pay half the family too, but at any rate, $2105 for the family. The proposed renewal rates are going up 6.5%, which in today's world, I hate to say, is not terrible. It's pretty average. But $897.06, and the renewal rates for the family are $2242.65. So I know, I consider it good news, but I don't want to, it can be a lot worse, to put it that way. On the next page, I just kind of went through your history on this page right here. And obviously, since 2013 down to 2023, you can kind of see where the rates have gone. Overall, it's not horrible considering in 2015, you were at almost $700 for a single. But, the hospital plans, unfortunately, they do limit a little bit, but they do save a lot of money. So, and people get a lot better plan for the price. So it's kind of a little bit of a 6 years, 6 years, half dozen here, half dozen there, whatever. I mean, it's good, bad news. So at any rate, the increase for 2023 is 6.5%. And the best news is your loss ratios are coming down. So losses for the last 2 years, I think if you remember, were over 100%. Fortunately, we kept the rates down during those years. This year, so far, that's only through April, but the last report, we were at 65% loss ratio. So that's a lot better. We had some issues in the county that are no longer here, and you never know. It's no one's fault. Maybe I'm not trying to, but it's just the way it goes. On the next plan next pages over here, it actually shows what the losses were. And if you go through, the first page is actually from 19 to 20, 2019 to 2020. And you can see the bottom right-hand corner actually shows what the loss was for that year. That's true losses. That doesn't take into account any sort of cost that the insurance company has. I mean, like paying the bills or running the plan or, paperwork, that type of thing. The second page is the 2020 to 21 year, and that's at 104%. You can see they weren't doing that well. Now, the third year is from May 1st to 21 to June, that was through June, paid through June, but the service is through May or April 30th. It's still at 64.71%. So in my thoughts, it's a very good report, and it shows, some really good news for the future, hopefully. So
Because that kind of is what triggers those.
absolutely.
Great.
Trigger.
You know,
Mhm.
I know a few years back, you know, the Sanford, it was pretty bad and they wanted to do a 30% rate increase.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they came down and, you know, so it's held more consistent. And so I can understand 6.5, even though it's at 65.
Mhm.
So I don't want to, I'm not here to defend an insurance company, believe me.
Right.
But at the same time, I think
They did work with us that year.
they
so.
did. Yeah. It was, like I said, it was projected to go up 30%. And I don't know if we'd have gotten anyone else to take it at that time.
Right.
Well, thank you and thank our employees for staying healthy. I tell you what.
Yeah,
it-
64% is good.
It's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
it is. And
Good news.
I think it's good news all around. And, you know, obviously, no one wants a 6.5% rate increase, but at the same time, in today's world, it's not terrible.
Should note that we're praising a 6.5% increase.
Yeah.
Rates.
Well, it's better than the 15% we budgeted.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right, half.
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good news.
If there's any other questions?
I had one quick question.
Yep,
So what, for the max out of pocket, do the co-pays factor into the max out of pocket?
yes. 2,000 is the most you would pay for a calendar year.
Okay, thanks.
That answer your question? So,
Pretty good
okay.
plan. It's a good plan.
Yep, it's a very nice plan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You
appreciate your
should
work.
Introduce the brains of the operation
Brains of
sitting in
the
the back
operation.
back here.
She's looking like I am. She's pretty shy. That's Erica Peterson, my daughter back there. And she will be taking over the operation someday.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so.
That's what we like to hear.
Continuation, so,
All right.
yep.
Very
sounds
good.
All right.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
you guys.
up.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming up. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7 then. Presentation by Louis Canfield, Director of Youth Diversion, Watertown Boys and Girls Club. Good morning.
Good morning. Right.
I suppose I said your name, but you probably can introduce yourself.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
Louis Canfield with the Boys and Girls Club Youth Diversion and Prevention. Just wanted to take a minute and share an update on our detention data for juveniles and what our diversion situation looks like currently.
Give one to Lee here.
Yep,
He has one when he gets back.
okay, sounds good. And I'll look at one as well. Okay, so first we'll look at JDI, which is Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative numbers. The first slide there shows detention admissions here in Codington County, which this is January through September, mid-September, so this has changed a little bit in the last couple of weeks. The process a little bit quicker and less admissions, which is the most important part, because that can be a traumatic experience for kids going through the admission process, getting booked and those kinds of things. So good to see those numbers down. With that, we're being more selective with the juveniles that do get detained, because obviously they can't all go through diversion. There's some more difficult cases, felony type charges. So that's going to have an impact on our numbers at the not so much our average daily population. That has gone up. We had a tough couple of quarters though, but we're down. We've gotten that. You'll see that number, that 0.9, working lower here in the upcoming months. But it did go up here for, like I said, a couple of quarters. We had several juveniles in detention. Average length of stay, 4.8. If you remember, prior to JDAI, we were close to 8 was the average length of stay. So I'd like to get that number back down as well. But as I mentioned, when we're being more selective with the number of juveniles that are in detention, the ones that are there are going to be there a little bit longer. So moving on, this slide here is the alternatives to detention, which was implemented in 2020. So with this is a great slide because it indicates that the alternatives to detention are working. So if a juvenile gets arrested, and instead of them sitting in detention for a period of time before they're adjudicated, we come up with alternatives, whether it's an ankle monitor or it's house arrest, or it's a variety of things. It could be attending the Boys and Girls Club as an evening reporting center. But if you see there in 2010, we had 6 juveniles that were given an alternative to sitting in detention, and 5 of those were successful, meaning only one of them either reoffended or missed their court hearing. Not the strongest numbers in 2021, half of them. But again, look at the positive. That's 3 kids that didn't have to sit in detention for 2-3 weeks waiting to go to court. And then a really strong year so far for 2022. 8 of the 9 kids, they've been successful with their alternative.
Hey, Louis, do you want to explain RAISE for those people watching?
I
The
do,
risk
yeah.
assessment- Risk assessment instrument.
So across the state, we try to be consistent with handling when juveniles are arrested with what's called a RAI, a risk assessment instrument. What that does is it scores the juvenile based on the current offense, any previous offenses, runs. If they can, basically it's a scoring system where you want to score them fairly based on facts, not emotions, and use that tool to decide whether or not they should be detained. So there are 3 things that can happen when a RAI gets completed. If you score in the bottom section, which is 6 to 0, you score for a release, meaning you released, you go with a parent or a guardian. Then there's a range 7 to 11. That is where you would score for an alternative to detention. And that's an area where I'm actually quite excited about that. I think I mentioned to this group that we applied for funding from the Department of Corrections for a court resource home. And we have selected a family, and they're going through the licensing process. So those kids that score for an alternative, they can't go home for whatever reason, oftentimes because there's a conflict at home. Instead of going to detention, they'll go to a court resource family for a couple of days, kind of cool off, and then go to their hearing. And then the final scoring is 12 or higher. That's when you score for detention. In those situations, that means the juvenile must have had a violent crime, a felony type charge, and they're going to be held in detention until their court hearing. And then, of course, there's some flexibility with that. There's the judge has the option to override either up or down. Currently, right now, if you score for a release and there's a conflict at home, and there isn't that current option for court resource homes, we've been detaining kids, which is unfortunate. So hopefully by December, we'll have that court resource family available, and then we'll be able to have those youth stay in an alternative shelter care situation.
Louis, can you explain what circumstances would dictate them going into that home? I mean, what type of situation?
Yeah, great question. It's going to, first of all, the family that is our resource family has to be comfortable with the situation. So there's going to be a lot of flexibility there. But a situation that I think would be when they score for that alternative, or they score for a release, but they can't go home. So a situation would be there was maybe a fight between a juvenile and a parent, and maybe it's a single family home. There's not any other relatives in town. That juvenile isn't a danger to society.
It's just not a safe location for them to
Just not a safe
return
location
to.
to be at home.
Good environment.
Yep, exactly. Could be a runaway situation. We see several runaways a year. Usually it's those situations where there's a conflict at the home. They're not kids that need to be detained. They're not kids that are dangerous. They're kids that are, a risk. And really, I didn't mention this, but there's 2 things that the RAI is supposed to indicate. And it's if they're a risk to the community or if they're a risk to run. So if they don't score high enough, there's really no reason to detain them, right?
Is there a goal to have more than one home?
There currently isn't because of funding. And we're actually doing 3 pilot programs across the state. It's us, Mitchell, and Aberdeen. So it's a 1-year pilot grant. Based on our last year's numbers, there were 9 kids that scored for an alternative. So depending on override ups or downs, you're looking at, I think, anywhere between 8 to 12 kids that could be held. And this is a very short-term solution. It's 48 hours up to 7 days, just to get them a time to cool off and hopefully get them back home as soon as possible.
I just thought if there was at least 2 homes, there'd be an alternate, so you could, there'd be place for them.
Yeah, it's a great question. And we may go there if the numbers, I don't think we have that need here in Codington. And then you go to other counties, they have other options. There's an Arise Center, and there's different alternates. Yeah, it's something that we'll definitely take a look at this first year and visit with the Department of Corrections and see if there's a need. We'll certainly request it.
Right. Sounds like it's pretty intense, for them as well, because they won't be ready till December. So it sounds like there's quite a bit of.
There's quite a bit of training. There has to be a home study. LSS is doing the licensing process for us, but I'll update the group hopefully in the next couple of months that we're ready to use it. We had a situation just this last weekend where we would have used that resource home. So it's sad that a juvenile had to sit in detention. It was more of a mental health situation, but it was the only option at the time. So, and then just real briefly, I'll go over my diversion information. So I have 3 slides here for you. Give you an idea of which cases are being referred to diversion. And now that the previous slides I showed you were January through today, or through mid-September, these slides are now July through June. So we're dealing with the state year now. So the referrals that we're seeing right now, we have a very, very good numbers, 55 successful cases. I've only had to send 2 back to the state's attorney for formal prosecution as of today. Currently working with 92 juveniles. That's a big number, and you'll see why that is here just a bit. Then we're missing a number here, but as you can see, what is it? Be 149 youth that have diversion here since July. So showing the growth here. Obviously, we're trending upwards, seeing more kids. That number is going to continue to grow, and a big reason for that is, as a JDAI collaborative, we decided that we're going to start referring juveniles for tobacco and vape citations. The previous option was they would get a citation and they'd go to the courthouse and they'd pay a fee, and that was really much it. What we really want to, we're seeing a lot of them, so we're really trying to educate those kids, get them more than just a charge. We want them to go through a program and learn what they're putting in their bodies and what the dangers are, and hopefully that'll put more of a dent in the amount of kids that are getting those tickets. And then on the last side, you'll see our number of cases reflect that change that we just made. Kind of small here, but you can see we're currently have 26 juveniles that are working through tobacco citation. 4 have completed, but our top cases being referred, of course, tobacco, property damage, alcohol. Now with the school year getting going, we're going to see truancy and habitual absences. Unfortunately, that's going to rise, I imagine. Runaways, simple assaults, and you can kind of see the rest. But that just gives you a good idea of the type of cases that are being diverted and the success rates. So, other thoughts or questions on that?
Well, it's good to see it's trending in a good direction. I guess that this
Yeah.
program is helping with those individuals to get them on the right track.
I'd
So
like to see the variety of these diversion cases. That's good.
Well, and you think
What's-
about
what's
that
happening.
number too. That's the number of cases that we're able to keep out of the state's attorney's office, which is a
Mhm.
significant number, and that really takes a toll off of their workload. So I think that's something to keep note. I wanted to update you on 2 things. One of them was the court resource homes, which I already did, and then the other one is we actually made some changes into the Boys and Girls Club facility where we now have the southern section for diversion and behavioral health. So it's a really great workplace where the kids that are in diversion can come in and wait for their check-in meetings in a comfortable setting. We have behavioral health there as well, with a classroom for different classes for us to teach locally. HSAs they've been teaching a class there, so it's really convenient. Anyway, we are inviting everyone to a ribbon house or ribbon cutting open house. Pass those off to you if I could, Cindy. And we'd love to see anybody there to stop in and see the place and show you all the good work that we're doing. And then additionally, here's just some basic information about our previous year at the Boys and Girls Club.
We have plenty of them.
Madam Chair, just to make a comment,
yes, go ahead.
just a thing, before the Boys and Girls Club was heavily involved in this with diversion. I mean, pretty much the only, and they were helping us with it before. The major diversion program was teen court. Now, because we can have this whole menu of things that the Boys and Girls Club can do, that's why we're able to increase the capacity with guys like Lewis helping us out. So, and one thing that was kind of an epiphany for me was to understand the difference between detention alternatives and diversion. So diversion is kind of a nip it in the bud thing that keeps kids out of the criminal justice system and gives them a chance, but at the same time tries to teach them, the positive way to behave as opposed to the negative way to behave. And then detention alternative is just that: is they've done something bad. Let's try to avoid the effects of detention. But for
Lewis,
me, that's helpful to understand that. So for me.
Sure.
Yep.
These numbers are pretty impressive to me, and the impact that this program is having. I've heard great things about it. You're doing good work, so keep up the good work. And
I appreciate
it's good to, like Commissioner Waterman said, or Commissioner Gable said, nip it in the bud. Well, we can get control of it now. So I appreciate your work.
Oh, same, and it's a community effort. It's I get to see the kids firsthand, but I tell you, I have a lot of partners that I work with here in Codington County that help me help the kids. So
Right.
appreciate everybody's support. Obviously, you guys for supporting the program. So
I also like that the education on the vaping. I don't think kids realize some of that, and that's a very popular thing to do right now.
it
So,
is. It's those are increasing.
Well, and there's another offense on there, inappropriate images, something we didn't have to worry about 10 or 15 years ago now that we do today, so times have changed for sure.
Yeah,
And how we deal with these kids. I mean, it's nice, the research and the studies that have gone into this, the work that have gone into this to understand what really works when it comes to diversion. And so, we'll see 15 years down the road,
Right.
what the overall effect is, but
Yeah.
for right now, it's working.
So when the county adopted their budget at the end of September, they did appropriate $77,962 for the program in 2024.
Excellent.
2023, I'm sorry.
Wonderful.
You're out.
Well, we are happy to continue, and we'll go as long as you guys will help us.
Yeah.
So great.
well, you
Thank
help,
you.
we help each other.
Great. Thank you
It
so
helps
much.
us. Yep, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, then we will move on to monthly reports, and we'll do the Veteran Service Officer next. Or Luke, do you need to scoot out? Are you okay today? Okay. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning. Don't have a lot to report here. 0 transports in September, 0 transports scheduled for October. We've had some email traffic about our DAV Ford Explorer and possibly the county welfare office, I think. So you guys are aware of that. I gave them the email so that the headquarters and the county welfare, they can work out the details from there, I guess, from that standpoint. But it's still sitting in our parking lot. So
Oh, sorry.
Nice, thank you.
what does that cost you?
Rolls next week.
Donuts next week.
We're all gonna be putting a few pounds on the last.
Stupid
few
Apple
weeks.
Watch.
I was just trying to figure out how to, if mine would do that.
It could.
Okay, I better hurry up. So we had the 9th annual Watertown Veterans Appreciation Day event out there on the 15th of September, where Phil Breger was named as the 2022 Codington County Veteran of the Year. Phil Breger. And he'll get the statue of the eagle presented to him at Veterans Day from that standpoint.
Great.
Very deserving.
Yes, yep, I would agree. The office, really right now, Jay has been in there the last 2 days. He's starting to come in, starting to filter in, taking a little extra time to do some training while we got that coming on board. Peg, again, her last day on the books will be the 31st of October. From that standpoint, we continue to be very busy. Of course, with Honor the Pact Act, adding hypertension, some of the burn pit stuff. Had a lot of inquiries about that, still waiting for that to kind of filter through the VA system from that standpoint, but definitely staying busy from that standpoint. Future, we have the Veterans Day. That's not going to be at the high school like it was last year. It's going to go back to the Codington County Extension Center. The VFW is going to be coordinating that like they did the last few years. We continue to establish an office over in the welfare area. We got computer, we got monitors. We got it hooked to the system, so we're gradually be able to go over there and rate, maybe not have so many interruptions to process some claims.
So what's the reasoning for moving it back out to the extension? I thought that was nice that the high school kids partake in that.
They don't have school on that day.
Oh,
And that's what, you know, when I
think of that.
talked to Mr. Daniels and we kind of thought, I thought it was great.
yeah.
And I got to meet with the commander tonight. We talked a little bit about that, of just being able to, even if it's not on Veterans Day,
Mhm.
to get something there in front of all the students from the
Yeah.
veterans standpoint.
Yep.
So
I think it's good. That's kind of a lost, you know.
I
a
thought it was
lost-
great last year. I'd
Yeah,
like to see it there every
absolutely.
year. from that
Yep.
standpoint.
Plan for next year.
We will.
Or like
Well-
you say, do something else on another day, have a gathering or lyceum for them, assembly.
Oh, no questions of me. I'll leave before my phone goes off.
Somebody call him quick. Lee, do you have any question?
No, I just, Commissioner Van Duzen, I like the chocolate glaze with sprinkles.
Yeah, you and Rick both like the same donut, apparently. We'll have him here next week.
Okay, item number 9. Action to approve resolution 2022-25 Codington County 5-year highway and bridge improvement plan. Rick, before we,
And we will also be authorizing the chair to sign the certification form for the same. It just didn't get listed here that way.
Okay.
That's what we did last year. We approved the resolution and authorized you to sign the certification.
and we've already held our public hearings on this. Not public hearing, but we had a time for the public.
Meeting.
Yeah, public meeting to come in with anything that they wanted added, and I don't think you ever heard, we didn't hear anything that day, so. Anyway, we should be good.
Well, this basically just shows us what we're gonna try and get done in the next 5 years with bridges, some road work, things like that. The list of bridges that we have. Well, you guys were here when Mark told you that we've got a lot of bridge work to do. So this helps keep it in line. So
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign.
Okay, motion by Gable,
Second.
second by Van Duzen. Any other comments or questions?
And just so the general public understands that this is actually required for us to be eligible for any grants or any help from the state.
correct.
So it's not only good that it's done, it's got done for a couple of purposes.
Yes, yes, indeed.
All right, any other comments? Not hearing any, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
We will move on then to item number 10, action to approve plat resolutions. We have 2 of them. We'll take them separately, obviously. I'll just let Luke do an explanation of them as we go. The first one is the Henning Edition in Graceland. That's on our agenda anyway.
Looks like he's got them on the screen and you might even have some copies of them. So I'm not gonna pass them around here. The first plat, as you said, is a plat of Henning Edition, Northeast Quarter, Section 24, Graceland Township. This is, if you know the area, it's about halfway along the Medicine Lake Road or Tinkertown Road, depending on which direction of my house you live. Bottom line is this is east of Henry about 4 and north of Henry about 4. And all they're doing is they're platting off the house and pasture with the house so that they can retain building rights. It's 53 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval. And probably the only other thing I'd point out, it is on a county road, and then there's a unimproved section line that heads west on the north edge of this property.
Move to approve.
Motion by Johnson,
Second.
second by Waterman. Any comments, questions about that? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries. All right, let's move on then to Comus Edition.
Sure.
transfer.
We have a plat of Comus Edition, the west half of the northwest quarter, section 26, in the south flavor of Kransburg Township. This is straight south of the Tip Top, on the west edge of Kransberg, 1, 2, 3, and 4 miles at the intersection of 464th and 176, both county roads. Again, this was recommended for approval. They were granted a farmstead exemption because you drive out there, it is quite clearly one that qualifies for the existing farmstead exemption. So there's a 5-acre lot, and then there's farmland surrounding it that will stay in a separate piece of property. The only other thing that I would point out in this 80 that's out there in the very southern edge, when you look at the aerial, you can see that there's a tooth carved out of it. That's from an old school site that had a building right to it. And the board addressed that a handful of years ago. So that one's got its own building right too. So
Motion
again,
to approve.
Motion by
Thank
Van Duzen,
Second.
second by Johnson. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
Luke. All right, let's move on then to item number 11, action to declare a box light LCD projector at the extension office surplus to be destroyed.
The recommendation comes from the extension center, and the projector is no longer in working condition and will be destroyed.
Move to approve.
Motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 12, the ARPA operating cash transfer, September payroll.
This is the monthly operating cash transfer we've been doing for the ARPA funds to offset our payroll for the month of September this time. $586,306.06 will be transferred from the ARPA cash to the general fund, the highway fund, and the victims of crime fund.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Johnson, second by Gable. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 13 goes to next week, so we will go to item number 14, action to renew public law library, the digital subscription. Lee, did you
Yeah.
want
I
to
think-
address that?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So as I think most of you might recall that state law requires counties to provide a public law library. And thanks to the help of the Watertown City Public Library, Regional Library, that we can use one of their internet terminals and where they have the public computers, but we have to pay for a subscription. So we don't have to pay for a place, but we do have to pay for the subscription to Westlaw. And we have been doing is taking the max term available. So I think the last one we did was for a 3-year period, and this is the same thing to keep the price down. So they give us a little bit better deal. The price does go up, but it doesn't go up as much if you do the longer term subscription. So I would make a motion that we would renew this for 3 years. And you can see the prices on the screen there. So the first year of that 3-year subscription will be $315.61 a month. And then you can see the charges there in your packet that's on the screen as well. So that's the motion I would make. And then regarding some of we do have to work out some of the point of contact information, but we do need to on the particular form, but those would be the subscription prices.
Second is motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? What is that 309.45? That was for
That- Yeah, that's a bridging. Let me go back to that. That is just for the 2 months between to get to the next year.
okay,
So, basically, yeah, I was wondering that too, but then so you can see the bridge term is 2 months. So that's to get us from, so the price is going up. It's 200 and some right now. So
Okay.
the price is going up to 300 some. So it's kind of in between. So it's
Okay.
not quite as much. So
Madam Chair, if I can ask
Yes.
a question.
yep, go ahead.
Commissioner Gable, is there, I know that we have to provide this under South Dakota state law, and I'm okay with that. It's a pretty sizable charge for a yearly subscription, which, okay, I understand that. Has there ever been any research done by the library or anybody else to determine how often this is used?
Yeah,
Or is
it's,
there a way to, is there a way to track that? I mean, do we need to educate the public that it's out there a little better?
yeah, maybe. I mean, I think we do, when we initially did this, it was part of the CCJAC discussion. We were talking about courts and jails and in
Mhm.
order to minimize some of the space in any courthouse renovations, the library helped us out basically. I don't think it gets quite as much as, the law kind of envisions, but it's there. So
Right.
there is a way to track it. I haven't looked at it recently. It does not honestly get a lot of traffic. The other thing that I should have noted is that this is paid for with what's called the Law Library Fund, and that's basically fines and court fees that are collected by the clerk of courts that go into a fund for the county. But it's basically collected for us by the unified judicial system, and that has been able to cover the cost of this. So it's not actually coming out of tax revenue.
Right,
We'd like people to get out and use this. It's there as a resource for them.
right. Yep. And that's what I was gonna ask you too. I knew that. So that funding so far, it's been fully funded, and does it look like it will continue for those next 3 years now that will be able to still fully fund this contract?
Yeah, it's been that way. I think that there is kind of something we have to pay attention to is that as far as I know, the clerk of courts or the UJS has not increased the various fees that they collect. At least not at the rate that the subscription goes up. I think when you ask Westlaw, are they giving us a good deal? They'll say they're giving us a good deal compared to what they give to the lawyers that do this that subscribe to this kind of service. So, that's where it is. It's a lot cheaper to do it this way than to do a physical, to buy physical books and have to update those and have physical space to put them. So,
Right, so that may be
Yeah.
something you'll have to
Yeah.
budget in the future to get into.
yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully the UJS will keep up with the, the fees. Not that we want to, necessarily gouge people or anything, but that's, just if inflation's going to take things up, we'll keep an
But-
eye on it. So, yeah.
Question that I would have, Lee, do you know, is every county assessed this? Or,
As far as I know, every county has a law library fund, and theoretically, yes, every county is supposed to provide a law library. That's a public, for the public to access.
And it used to be, when the clerk of courts was up here, it used to be in like the side room off the clerk of courts is where it was located. So that may be where it is at other counties.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they probably don't, the nice thing about this is, you've got the up-to-date stuff. This is a very comprehensive package for people to access. So, and it's cheaper than building a room to do it.
Right. Plus it's more accessible to the general public weekends, things. So it's an
A
opportunity.
lot of counties probably have their original book subscription and just get the paper updates as they come out.
Right, and then they gotta know
That's
to
what I'm
go and,
thinking,
yeah,
yeah.
look at those.
This is much easier to use.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all good. All
Okay.
right, we ready
Thanks,
to
Lee.
vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Let's move on to item number 15 then, action to approve claims for payment.
We have nothing for 15 or 16.
Okay, item number 17, action to approve personnel changes.
With one personnel change, this is a new hire at the highway department. Highway maintenance tech 3 to replace an employee who has left our employment. The employee that has been hired is Mike Waba, effective date October 17th. And he will start at step 1, $22.62 per hour.
Move to approve.
Motion by Van Duzen,
Second.
second by Gable. Any comments, questions?
is this the individual? This is the one that's gonna be stationed in Henry.
Yes,
Oh, this individual will be at
this is the
Henry.
Henry. Yep,
Okay.
he'll be the maintainer out of Henry.
Very good.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 18, action to approve travel requests.
We have another travel request. The first one will be for 2 weed and pest employees to attend a district weed meeting in the month of November. got those copies in front of you. Next one is the West Nile Virus Mosquito Conference for an additional 4 employees through the maintenance department and the weed department. And we have the emergency management department, the director and deputy director to attend a crisis track software training. And also the emergency management director and deputy director to attend a G393 mitigation for emergency managers. And the final one is to authorize the emergency management director to attend the safety conference.
Move to approve.
Motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries. All right, item number 19, public notices, possible quorum of commissioners to be in attendance. Well,
We get the public forum, but that's next week from
Yep.
today.
yeah, but a week from today, that's what I was gonna mention.
Capers
but-
is this weekend.
Pardon?
Capers. is this
Yeah,
weekend, so I don't
Capers
know.
is this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. I don't notice anything else that there could be a possible quorum of commissioners at. Did we also want to mention about next Monday, Cindy? Was that on here? Did I miss it?
No, it's in our policy, but the courthouse and county offices will all be closed on Monday, October 10th for Native Americans Day
All right,
in South Dakota.
okay, item number 20, any old business? Anyone have any old? How about 21, any new business? Do we have anything for the open? We
Just,
have no,
Madam Chair, yeah, one quick thing, just, I think most people know we've been following the regional jails summer study, legislative summer study. As they had their last meeting, I think they're talking about doing one more meeting to put together a final report. I know they talked about the public, the voter approved half-cent sales tax as part of that, but we'll see what comes out of the recommendations. So that's just something we're watching and waiting for.
all right. I don't believe we have any need to go into executive session. So I'd look
Move
for
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Johnson,
Second,
second by Gable. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Oh, sorry, we are adjourned.
Or you can, yes. Thanks, Brenda, for setting everything up.